Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. This podcast is being sponsored by Get Loopy. On episode 41, you can hear the story of Isabel, the co-founder and CEO. Get Loopy, get a 20% discount off your first order. GetLoopy.com. Take it from the Iron Woman, we only have special guests, and today we have Shawn Slevin with us. She is the founder of Swim Strong Foundation in New York. We want to hear from her. Shawn, introduce yourself. Tell us all the good stuff you're doing for the people who want to learn how to swim and more.
Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for inviting me and providing this opportunity to speak today. I really appreciate it. Swim Strong Foundation is a not-for-profit here in New York City. We're 14 years young, and our mission is to try to reduce unintended drowning and water-based accidents. And so we do that really by two methods. One, which is quite traditional, is the in-water work that we do, teaching swimming lessons for people ages 3 through seniors. And we have programming that's very wide and diverse. So we have your traditional Learn to Swim programs, but we have adaptive programs as well for people with different abilities. And we run that all the way up through competitive swimming as well. The program breadth is quite wide, and that's wonderful because we see people developing at their own pace and their own interests, which is really wonderful. The second side of that is our training that we don't do in the water. It is water safety training, but our focus is really an environmental/scientific approach to water safety, where we want people to understand that each type of water is different to each other and has different conditions, different nature, different dangers. With that education, even if you don't know how to swim, you are in a better position to be able to make a decision that will keep you safe, which is the most important thing.
This to me is amazing. I grew up in Switzerland, loved the swimming. I feel like I've always been growing up in the swimming pool, a little fortunate, I would say. And you have taken it to the next level. So thank you so much for doing this. And I know you also help out people from the underprivileged groups. That's really beautiful to hear. But for the listeners, I did some research on drowning statistics. So now listen very carefully. 10 people drown in the US daily. 10 people. Boys are twice as likely than girls to drown. Boys, listen up. Don't jump. And then drowning is the number one preventable cause under the age of from 1 to 4. So you could prevent to have a child drown if they know how to swim or how to act in the water. Nearly 80% of people who are drowning are male.
Are males. That's right. 20% females. And the ages from mid-teens to mid-30s. And males seldom drown singularly. They tend to drown in groups, multiples. Suzanne, guess why? What do you think?
Well, that's my judgment, probably. They have a good time, they hold each other's hand, they jump from a cliff, and then something happens. Or they're drunk, unfortunately.
I think, you're on to something. in their younger, well, all through that period, in general, males are risk-seeking missiles. And certainly when they're younger, it's more about pushing the envelopes. The adult bad behaviors come when we're older, mixing the alcohol or other substances and water, which is such a deadly combination. But yes, the most striking statistic for me, which really drew me into this world of the Learn to Swim, because I started in competitive swimming and I coached competitive swimming for many years, but was the fact that on a global basis, a person is dying actually every 70 seconds. Every 70 seconds due to drowning. And for every death, 5 more people are suffering life-changing brain and spinal cord injuries due to water-based accidents. Horrible. So that is so astounding. It's actually a global epidemic. We're living the pandemic now, but this drowning has been a global epidemic for years and years and years. And the numbers, it's hard to move the needle to get them to be better, which is so frustrating. For us here in the end of all of those tragedies, 95% of them were preventable.
This is horrendous.
Yeah. So if people had the education, if they understood their environment, if they had the skills, then they would not put themselves in a situation of danger. Certainly, they would be more likely to be in a situation where they could control their outcomes. That really has stimulated myself and my thinking around why water safety is becoming so much more important to us. Because as we look at our world, it has just become so much more watery. Our water levels have been rising an inch and a half a year for the last 15 years. Our storms are becoming more intense, not less intense. And as we saw this year, we had so many of them. I think we had 30 tropical storms, hurricanes. So the frequency is increasing. And then for New York in particular, but it's true in many cities, the development of our waterfronts is taking off as never before in my lifetime. So what this is doing is opening up availability to open water to millions of people who, again, don't understand the conditions of those waters and they don't have the swimming skills. I'm so concerned that our drowning rates and our water-based accident rate will be, rising substantially. We have to get ahead of this. We need to do something differently because our lives, we have to manage it differently going forward. We just need a different and a new relationship with the water.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you get into this? You told me you have been swimming competitively. You have been coaching people who want to swim competitively. How did the Swim Strong Foundation start 14 years ago? Or sometimes a foundation starts even more than 14 years ago. Tell us your story.
Well, my personal story is that I was a near drowning victim myself at the age of 5. I knew I didn't know how to swim. I was at a lake with my mom. She was reading a magazine. I was just walking along the shore. And I wasn't going in deep water. I was just walking. But I fell into a hole. There was a drop. And I couldn't find the bottom and I couldn't find the top. Of course, my mother caught that and came and got me. But to me, it seemed as if it was an eternity, before she got to me. It was such a traumatic event that I wouldn't go near water for 4 years. And so finally, my dad convinced me to come in. And within 6 months, I was competing on a swim team. So that's how this all started. And I had a phenomenal role model. Helen Coyne was her name, who was our swim coach. It was so much more than just about swimming. It was all of the life skills that we were learning, how to set goals for ourselves, how to be disciplined to meet those goals, how to understand our time constraints, because we had homework to do, we had swim practice to do, if we were doing other sports, whatever it was, everything had to fit in a little bit of time that we had. How to work with one another, to understand that we didn't have to be best buddies, but we were on a team and we wanted the best outcome for the team. We needed to support one another to get that done. And even as it came to us personally, when a coach asked us to swim an event that we didn't like, you sucked it up for the team. You didn't throw a fit and say, no, I'm not doing it. I want to do this. I want to do that. You understood coach knew what she was doing. If she could get 1 point for you versus no points, that was where you were going to go. I really appreciated that. When I aged out, I got too old for her program. She said, come and help me with the little ones. And she knew I was fascinated with her strategy as to how she set up the meets. She had the most winning record, over 150 meets, consecutive wins. This woman was brilliant. And I learned so much. You ask about, what did you learn that you could bring into your life, business or otherwise? So many of the things I learned from that experience with Helen.
That's fantastic. It can transfer in a business or in your life. I think these days it's also important that boys and girls have a role model, and the coach has an important role in that.
As coaches, often don't understand how we touch the lives of our mentees, for example. It was, in fact, a number of the young men and women that I personally coached over those decades who found me many years later and were kind enough to come back and say, this we attribute to the work we did with you. Here's how these lessons have played out in my life, not only in my academics, but now I'm in my career. I might be raising my family now. And these lessons are playing out every day. Magic. Truly. Yeah. It's a gift. When you're given that type of feedback, what a wonderful gift that is.
It's priceless. And I've been a running coach for the New York Roadrunners. I know when the people came up and they say, because of you, I heard your voice in my head. I think that's the best reward. You
can't get money for that. You really can't. There's just no comparison between the satisfaction of knowing how you really have made someone's life better in so many ways.
And you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a cool story. Thank you so much, Shawn. Drowning statistics again. 10 people drown in the US daily. Boys are twice as likely than girls. What are you taking away from this? What can you learn? Take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. There's something for everybody. And don't forget to order Get Loopy, the plant-based snack. GetLoopy.com. You get 20% off of your first order. And Take It from the Iron Woman is also a book. You can get it on Amazon. It's a paperback or an ebook. Don't wait. Now is the time. Now is the time to learn something new. Thank you so much. Like us and subscribe.